I'm in a shit mood, I'm tired, I'm sick, let's review this piece of shit. Safe to say that I was not at all looking forward to rewatching and reviewing this episode, especially after the first part of the story made in the Forest of the Shite, a story where the Doctor implies that a mentally ill child should not take her medication, look like a masterpiece compared to the girl who died. But this episode has always been considered by me to be the worst episode of Series 9, but honestly, after reviewing The Girl Who Died in depth, I'm not sure if this episode is worse or better. I mean, either way it's shit, don't worry, but surely it can't be worse. Right? 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 Well, let's suffer together and find out just how bad the woman who lived really is. The episode starts off with some absolutely terrible exposition shat in our face when we are told the character who's obviously Maisie Williams, shh, you're meant to know that yet. We get told just how great she is and how she's better than all these other characters. The episode needs to set up in a natural way. However, this episode is about as natural as Clara's character is consistent. So this moment just feels completely jarring. This is literally the first line spoken in the episode. The episode gives me some mixed feelings of joy when the Doctor waltzes through the carriage with this device. But this moment, while funny, feels off because of how much 12 is acting like 11 here. One of the many problems with this series is the 12th Doctor's sudden and unexplained character shift, which most of the time is fine because there's still heavy elements of Series 8-12, but this moment just felt like such an 11th Doctor moment. Him not noticing it's a robbery, letting the horse and carriage get away. Does this not sound familiar? And isn't it ridiculous that Ashilda gives literally no reaction to seeing the Doctor at first, considering he's the man who literally ruined her life, and this episode puts so much emphasis on how much he ruined her life, yet when she first sees him, zero reaction. That would be like if Jack gave no reaction to hearing the TARDIS arrive in Cardiff after you waited 200-ish years for the Doctor. And Ashilda has waited fucking over 700 years, yet no reaction at first. Ugh.
What's wrong with yours?
Nothing, Doctor.
Fuck off with this dramatic ass music. It's so obviously been her from the beginning. Shut up.
What took you so long, old man?
Sorry, is this meant to be funny? No, like genuinely, I have no idea what tone this is going for. Is it meant to be funny, charming, a dig, a complaint? What? Also, my absolute disappointment, remembering that this episode was written by Catherine Tregenna, who not only wrote for Torchwood way back when, but she also wrote some of the show's best material. Seriously, I'm not over-exaggerating, she wrote 2 of the best episodes in Series 1, and some of the best episodes in Series 2. What the fuck happened here? Like, you can tell she's really trying to work with this episode, but honestly, I feel like she just didn't understand the source material enough, like how she did with Torchwood. Also, for the love of fuck, how the god can Ashilda just do a man voice so effortlessly with this absolutely horrid dubbing? Practice? You can practice doing a voice that deep? Sorry, but I refuse to believe that a girl could do a voice that deep and that consistently. Like, maybe if she sounded like a 10-year-old kid, but not this!
The Nightmare has a reputation to maintain.
Fuck off, show. Also, what an absolute coincidence that the Doctor just so happened to run into her at this exact location, at this exact time, in this exact place. And the episode is even aware of how coincidental this is. A coincidence this severe can't just be passed off as a simple coincidence. This is just fucking contrived, and the entire episode is built off this contrived coincidence. We aren't even 5 minutes in yet, for fuck's sake! The writing in this episode is absolutely awful, you sweaty cheeseburger. Also, I don't buy that she calls herself May, either, because the reason she gives herself that name is her name dies with whoever she's with, which, that would be fair enough on its own, but there's no fucking way she could possibly forget her original name. Like, Jack Harkness isn't actually Jack's name, but I highly doubt it's because he's forgotten his original name, or that he'll ever forget that he's called Jack. And he's had a family before, and he's witnessed them die before, and he doesn't change his name, he just moves on. Why the fuck would you refer to yourself as me, you witless yogurt?
Could it be we are looking for the same prize?
My, what a coincidence! And now we're at the part of showing Ashilda's life through flashbacks, and I might as well just say that now, but the sound design in this episode is absolutely horrible! Seriously, they used the fucking whoosh stock sound effect.
Or the evisceration. Now this.
And this! Seriously, when did this become a self-aware YouTube skit? One thing this scene actually does well is show the curse of immortality well, and how your sorrow can just run out, especially in the scene with the Black Death, and the detail of the tears in her diary was very good. Though I wish the Doctor didn't have to spell it out to us that they're tears, like, come on! I think even a child would recognise what tears on ink looks like. But the scenes showing Ishilda's life besides that one are so poorly placed and edited that they make it come off as comedic, only for it to suddenly cut to tragedy. It makes the whole episode feel really dodgy, and it does shit like this constantly. And the fact that Ishilda compliments herself every 3 human seconds.
I don't need to be indestructible. I'm superb. I'm really good at holding my breath. Because I'm incredibly clever. It doesn't matter. I know where Lucy Fanshawe lives. And I'm an excellent housebreaker.
Just makes her character come off as obnoxious, especially since most of those talents are never really shown, and besides this episode being set over 700 years apart from the first one, she still does the exact same thing she did in the last episode, and that's purposefully. Fuck something up, only to realise you fucked up and beg the Doctor for help. So it's incredibly hard to believe that she's actually good at any of this shit, because she's so far up her own arse, yet has barely shown any change in how she deals with aliens coming to Earth, you excessively moronic turd! And the scenes where Ishilda goes and speaks to the glowing eyes, just it looks so bad. Then we get another cringy, self-indulgent Ishilda moment, where she challenges the Doctor because of what she's become, desensitized to life, and she calls him the man who runs away, which is just... what? And how does she know this immense detail about the Doctor's life exactly, since she only knew him for 1 day in a village over 700 years ago? She just does. Fuck off with your bullshit! You gelatinous blob of a script, my god! So we get more bicker bantering between the Doctor and Ishilda, and the Doctor uses the sonic sunglasses to light a fire, and just fuck off! I know that Moffat had already pulled this stupid bullshit somewhere before, but this is fucking ridiculous! The sonic screwdriver isn't a fucking weapon, and it shouldn't be able to light fires, you steamy sausage prick!
It is harmless.
Oh, yes. Harmless is just the word, that's why I like it. Doesn't kill, doesn't wound, doesn't maim.
It's style over substance bollocks writing like this that makes me miss Russell's era so much. Like, the Moffat era has so many style over substance moments like this, just for the appearance of being cool without thinking about the irreparable damage things like this could do to the show. Like, you might think this is a nitpick, but just think, in Doctor Who's fucking... what, like 52 years of history before this episode come out. Do you think that at any point the sonic screwdriver being able to light fires would be useful in the past? Of fucking course it would! If you're going to have style over substance, at least have the style make sense.
Doctor, turn that thing off.
How would she know how to turn things on and off? Electricity didn't even exist when this story was set. So they steal the Eye of Hades and we get a cringy dragged out scene where the Doctor and Ishilda crawl on the floor to avoid the housekeeper. No fucking way did he not see her here. Seriously, this episode's attempts at comedy are so fucking poor. Along with this over-the-top music, it's also poorly placed and timed. Like, in the chimney, Ishilda is talking to the Doctor about how Clara will die and she'll blow away like smoke with this fucking music playing.
She'll die on you, you know. She'll blow away like smoke.
Save your breath.
This should be a serious moment, but it sounds like it's a fucking circus act. Then we get a scene of quote-unquote banter, and the Doctor's misery in this scene is perfectly reflected of my own, because fucking hell, this scene is so hard to watch. Until, of course, the Doctor just joins in on the banter, just to further his uselessness in this scene, since the Doctor's authority, you know, one of the main traits of the character, is just completely ignored in this scene. All of the characters, pretty much, until Ishilda realises she needs him for her bollocks plan, so she listens to him.
I know their lives are short, I understand, but those lives do matter.
Shut up, you're not my dad.
What a horrible little, unpleasant, backstabbing, inconsistent, rude, insufferable, exploitative, stupid, egotistical, reckless, moronic, weasel crocodile cunt you are. You whore! I'm more than 20 fucking minutes into this episode and practically nothing has happened, and everything that has either been annoying or cringe, and the only somewhat interesting elements of this episode are just being brushed to the side to make way for more shit. My god! This is a fucking drag! So we revisit Unicorn and the Wasp for some reason, and we get more whining from Ashilda. And this self-righteous whining is like exactly what Clara has been shown to do several times in the past. Like sure, some of these scenes in Series 8 were retroactively fixed by Series 9 and the Clara Obsession arc, making these annoying scenes work to some extent, but fucking hell for Ashilda, they just don't because of how obnoxious her character is. And unlike with Clara, the obnoxiousness is not intentional. I can hardly feel sympathy for her when we know that she's been scheming for the entire episode since the beginning and she's willing to kill people just to avoid having to put in any work. This character is fucking awful.
Because it wouldn't be good.
Besides one scene later, that's realistically about how deep this episode goes with the theme of mortality. The Doctor then meets the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz, and I almost fucking died when I first saw him. I mean, seriously. Look at him! He looks fucking terrible! And it only gets worse later. The Doctor then actually shows his authority well, where he risks his own life by saying if you intend harm on this planet, killing me will be your best option, which was a fucking brilliant line. Unfortunately though, it is literally ruined within the same breath when the villain then immediately spews his entire plan out at the Doctor, because this episode doesn't know what subtly delivering exposition is.
Hunting, running errands while he sleeps.
Oh dear God. You're just like every other man.
Oh, fuck off, you useless celery stick, bitch, cunt, bitch, cunt, bitch, cunt, bitch, cunt, bitch, cunt, bitch, cunt. Then she actually does raise a fair point about how it's the Doctor's fault, which I do agree with, like I said in my last review. It was completely irresponsible what the Doctor did to Ashilda, and even though that part of the story recognised he was at fault for this, it's still absolutely absurd that he would do it at all, even in a moment of anger, because what he did was completely selfish and stupid, especially since he knows the suffering immortality can cause, and has seen its direct effects. And when he raises the points about how he didn't think she would become a bad person, the biggest flaw of this story is just pointed out to us directly. And it's fucking Ashilda. This episode does an absolutely dreadful job of making Ashilda a sympathetic character, which is what she should be considering what the Doctor did to her. We should feel sorry for her and understand her anger towards the Doctor and agree with her. But we don't, because she's a fucking horrible manipulative bitch who pretty much just gets her own way constantly. She robs people just because she can, brags about all the things she can do, is an unpleasant presence, tries to kill someone just for her own personal gain, claims to have grown from all she's done, but will still make the same mistakes that she did when she was mortal hundreds of years ago. She is categorically unlikable, and she ruins any potential that this episode has. Like, Jack was made immortal, and despite some horrible things he's done in his life, he's still a good person with a good moral mindset, and has been protecting Earth for hundreds of years, and he's lived much longer than Ashilda, and he's remained a good person. Like, in Exit Wounds, Jack is buried at the beginning of Earth's time, and is, like, stuck underground, buried repeatedly dying for hundreds upon hundreds and hundreds of years. By the time he gets back, he doesn't even go to kill his brother straight away. If this was Ashilda, she'd just fucking murder him without giving him a chance. Jack's existence as a brilliant character just points out more and more of how terribly written Ashilda is. It just makes me think, what if Ashilda was replaced by Jack in these stories? I'm not going to go fully in depth with this because I'm pretty sure I did in my Series 9 ranking, but if he was in this story, it could have been so much better written, especially since Catherine Jagetta herself wrote for Torchwood and knows how to write Jack, instead of forcing her to try and work off the girl who died. You numbskull floppy pineapple fuck! These scars are also fucking shit, by the way. They're so unfunny in an already unfunny episode. Like, fucking hell, I think I got more laughs out of Revolution than this episode. Don't worry, Revolution is still much worse than this episode, but god. And once again, we get even more puns from Sam Sif the Quick. What a superfluous name. Which, some of them aren't too bad, and him using these jokes to prevent his death is a decent way to judge and prolong his hanging. But at this point, I was just so fucking done with the episode that they just couldn't amuse me. The Doctor then ignores his hatred of banter again, as he does it with Sam Swift again! However, this time it can be excused, as he's obviously trying to help save Sam's life here, but still. I wish we got like a little bit more of the Doctor like cringing at his jokes or something, or murmuring, God, I hate this, because that could have actually been quite funny. Unfortunately, we get more of the unintentionally funny from the Cowardly Lion, and Sam's life force opens a portal in the sky. Oh. Ashilda then turns good the second she realizes that the evil plan can no longer benefit her, and the story actually acts as if this is a big character shift. Yeah, fuck off. Please never make Capaldi do that again. Also, notice how this is exactly what she did in the last fucking episode! Ashilda fucks something up on purpose because of her own selfish needs and desires, only to then realise she's fucked up and beg for the Doctor's help, which he does with absolutely no challenge whatsoever. Absolute fucking trash. So Ashilda puts the Tide Pod in Sam Swift and it kills the Cowardly Lion for literally no reason other than conveniently having the villain go away when the plot needs him to. Do I even need to explain how shit this is at this point? Then we get a conversation between the Doctor and Ashilda, which does remind us that the woman who wrote this episode wrote for a show that handles mortality in the best way I've seen, where the Doctor talks about the beauty of life, and it's actually really good and reminds us that this show can be good with deep themes like this, until the episode just switches back to telling us how great Ashilda is. Yeah, thanks, I forgot! So the Doctor and Clara meet up in the TARDIS, and we do actually get a nice interaction between the two, until we see this picture of Clara and a student, and Ashilda's in the background. When I first saw this, it was similar to my reaction to the ending of Loki episode 4. I didn't know whether to be angry, laugh, or be more angry. Because first of all, fucking celebratory selfies, fuck off. Second of all, there's no fucking way that a shitty iPhone from 2015 could have camera quality that's that good. And how does Ashilda even know where Clara works or where Clara is? What the fuck at this point?
Oh, don't worry, daft old man. I'm not going anywhere.
I wonder if this is meant to be foreshadowing. So, that was the woman who lived, and oh my fucking god, it was even worse than I could have possibly imagined. While there's definitely some good ideas in this episode, a lot more than last week, so I think by default this episode is ever so slightly better. But the amount of bad shit in this episode is either equal to or even more than in The Girl Who Died, because fucking hell, this episode is an absolute train wreck. First of all, let's get the most obvious out of the way. Well, one of the most obvious. And that's that this episode is so fucking boring. The majority of it is just the Doctor and Ashilda standing around and talking, and they rarely talk about interesting things, and when they actually do, the scenes don't work because of how horribly written Ashilda is as a character. And that leads to the second most obvious thing about this episode that's shit, and that's fucking Ashilda. She is a fucking putrid, loathsome, sickening, smelly, witless, spineless, heartless bitch who should be the one that we as an audience have the most sympathy for, but she's just such a fucking cunt that the entire episode fails because of how hard it fails at making her character likable or even just sympathetic. The entire story is built on you feeling sorry for this character, but you never will because she's an unlikable, awful person. They could have at least made her a sympathetic villain like the Sim Master, or Loki. When I say Loki, I mean good Loki, not Loki in his own show.
You will all fall before me. Boy!
The character is given no development through this episode, yet this story is determined to have you believe that she's changed and developed throughout, where it basically just comes at the flick of a switch, and she's good all of a sudden. No subtlety, no complexity, nothing. easily one of the show's worst characters ever. I can't wait until she appears twice more in this series. And the fucking Cowardly Lion, my fucking god. The Cowardly Lion. He's so fucking bad, it's actually insane. Like, seriously, what was his purpose other than having a style over substance ending and an excuse to randomly blow shit up? He does nothing of note in this story, his design is horrible, and even though I just sat through and finished this episode 5 minutes ago, I haven't got a fucking clue what his name is, and I have no interest in finding out. And the humour in this episode, my god, the humour in this episode is so bad! It's actually insane! All of it is cringe and unnecessary. Like, why in a story where we're supposed to be dealing with the Shielders' struggles of being immortal are we having bantery jokes about irrelevant shit? Like, fuck off! And with that, wow. I can't believe we got 2 of Capaldi and 2 of Doctor Who's worst episodes ever, back to back. What a fucking embarrassment. I haven't back-to-back reviewed episodes this bad since I was doing Series 12. Seriously, what a disservice to Peter Capaldi. However, the next story isn't that. Because up next we have the most unoriginal title of Zygon story ever, Part 1. But seriously, guys, I cannot stress enough how fucking bad the woman who lived and the girl who died was. Like, seriously, what the fuck happened? What a horrible, little, unpleasant, backstabbing, inconsistent, rude, insufferable, exploitative, stupid, egotistical, reckless... Fuck!